Welcome to the Nightlife Podcast. Have you ever dismissed a dream as just the pizza or stress from the day? More often than we realize, the symbols and stories in our dreams contain divine revelation, hidden for us to discover. Once you realize this gift that's been yours all along, you'll never go back to spending the nightlife just sleeping. As I found myself dreading Christmas shopping this year, I received what felt like a bursting shaft of golden light surrounded by heaven's choir of singing angels. Realistically, it was more of an inspired idea, but I'm sure you can imagine the adoration I felt when my husband agreed to take over gifts this year. I think I'm in love all over again, watching him swoop in like a hero, saving the day. As we celebrate the most perfect gift ever given, Jesus, I'm in awe at how much divine revelation was wrapped in dreams throughout the Christmas story. Over 2,000 years later, the nightlife is still one of the most profound ways God reveals himself to his creation, while we are quiet, at rest, and most receptive to him. My interview with Chris Anders was sparked by a dream, making it all the more meaningful in this season of wonder and reflection. When I met Chris, he told me he's a vibrant, active dreamer, but that his dreams are mostly just crazy, so he hasn't invested much effort trying to interpret them. I kind of wish I had $1 for every time I've heard that. Of course, I encouraged him that there's probably more meaning in his dreams than he realizes, and to let me know if he ever wants to explore them further. Not long after this conversation in passing, Chris dreamed that we were in a museum together. He was showing me several exhibits that were all scenes from different dreams of his, and I was talking him through what each of his dreams meant. In the dream, Chris knew he was dreaming, which typically indicates heightened spiritual perception. With curiosity piqued, his dream became the doorway for our amazing conversation. We decided to process his dreams through live interpretation, something I've never done on the podcast before. It's always such a joy helping others discover God in their dreams, and I'm so thankful that Chris accepted the invitation to go deeper, as well as his willingness to share with all of you on the podcast today. Hi, Chris. Thanks for talking to me today. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good. I'm excited to process some of your dreams today. So, do you want to start by telling listeners about how long you've been dreaming and a little bit about your dream life? It sounds pretty vibrant from what I've heard from you so far.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been a very vivid dreamer, probably since like 3 or 5.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a lot of the just kind of way my mind works. It's just been very like active, and I'm very much a night owl, and kind of hard for me to go to sleep because my mind's so active. And then it's like when I do get to sleep, it's even more active in my dreams. So
would you consider yourself more of a right-brained creative?
oh, yeah, for sure. I was always good at like things like puzzles and stuff like that when I was a kid. Some good critical thinking side that I have more from my dad. He could always like take tests like nobody's business. I wish I had that gift. That's one of the things that I can't do as well. But mostly, yeah, I've always been really interested in stories and books. And, I want to be a video game designer. That's kind of what I'm working to right now. So I just love telling stories and, either through games or shows or movies, whatever God leads me to do in that.
Awesome. Now, how many of your dreams do you just write off as, wow, that was fun, that was crazy? And how many of them do you wonder, did that mean something, or is that interpretable?
Yeah, so usually I would just kind of write them off as just like, oh, that was a crazy dream. That's sometimes just how my mind works. I never really kind of thought of them as something more. There have been some that have been more, I guess, emotionally driven, where it's kind of like taken me back, and I've kind of been like, oh, I wonder what that meant. And so the more I kind of looked into my dreams and like looked them up and, tried to find ones that we could talk about, I was thinking like, yeah, okay, there are some that I have had in the past where I do wonder what the meaning behind that was.
Okay. Have you ever had a dream that correlates directly to your waking life in the present tense, where you were processing something or it was showing you something?
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely, in fact, the first one I put down was definitely one of those, because it's very like dealt with kind of things that I've been going through at the time when I was, I want to say 18, 19, and I was going through a lot of like rejection and stuff during that time. So I think, yeah, there's definitely some of those where it's very like pertinent to what I was going through at that time.
And did you feel like the dream helped you get clarification or resolution at all in the time you had it?
Somewhat. I think a lot of the things that I dream, I don't try to dig into them too much, but I will try to kind of extrapolate something that God's telling me. Maybe if it's like, a comforting word or something like that. But I never get into like much of the prophetic side of it, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Have you ever been wrestling with something and went to sleep feeling troubled and then woke up feeling better
Yeah.
and correlated that to the dreams you had that night?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So this has happened to me at times where I go to bed troubled over something and my dreams, not that they spoke to the situation itself, but they were just
Yeah.
so fun or exciting or
Right.
adventurous.
Yeah.
I just wake up like, who cares about that problem? I just
Right.
had like so
Exactly.
much fun all night. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, that happens to me a lot, actually. I feel like I get a lot of those dreams where it's like, I hated to wake up after because I'm like, oh, it was so good. I want to go back. I want to like
Totally.
be back there in that place. That was fun.
So it's like the ultimate form of escapism
Yes. Oh,
and
that's a
it's
good way of
healthy.
putting it. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, go ahead and share a dream with me and let's talk it through and see where this goes.
So I'm wondering which one I should start with. If I should start with like the earlier dreams, like from when I was like kind of a kid, or if I should like jump into something more recent.
It's okay if you
Okay.
want to jump around.
I guess I can talk about the first one that I was just talking about, the one that was more emotional, because that one's a little bit more heavy.
Okay.
And then the other ones are like a little bit more light and fun and, more cool.
Sounds good.
So yeah, this one, I had a dream where there was this girl that I liked, and we were really good friends at church that I went to back in Houston, where I'm from. And we had just kind of like a close relationship, but not anything more than just friends. And I kind of liked her more than that. I didn't really know what to say to her. And so there was this dream where I'm giving her, and it's going to maybe even sound a little cheesy, but I'm giving her like this chest, and this chest has my heart in it. And I'm literally like handing it to her. And then she like takes it and then she runs off into the forest with it. Then like there's this like forest fire, and I'm like chasing after her, and like all the trees start catching on fire all around me and like falling in front of me. And I'm trying to like jump over them and like, get my heart back from her or whatever. It was just like one of those things where she runs off in the distance, like out into the night, and I lose her. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do now. And then I just wake up. Yeah. Emotional.
Yeah, you're not the first guy I've heard from who had a dream about a girl.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
literally was just talking to someone about a dream he
Okay.
had about a girl he liked. Okay, so the context in your waking life is that you like this girl at your church, but you're uncertain of if she likes you or how to pursue her.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then in the dream, you give her a chest with your heart in it. Does she look in the chest? Like she knows what it
Yeah.
is. And then
Yeah. She knows what it is.
and then she just instantly like turns around and runs off
Yeah. She just bolts.
into the forest. And
Hmm.
what is your feeling in that moment?
It's like kind of a sinking feeling. I'm just like, well, I have to, I have to go after her. And so it's like trying to get it all back. I'm trying to get her back, and I'm trying to get the heart back, because it's like, did I just make a mistake?
Right.
Or, can I win her back or whatever? I don't know why she's running away. And I went through a lot of rejection early in life as a kid, not just from the opposite sex, of course, but even from friends. That really has kind of been a running theme in my life, funny running. And so that
Right.
could be like a big part of it too.
Yeah, that's powerful. So you're running after her in the forest, and in the process, the forest is on fire. And so it just sounds
Mhm.
like chaos and destruction is like all around you. And at
Yeah.
that point, do you feel afraid and frantic?
No, not really. I actually think there might be something to like the thought of it being kind of like the fires of like passion as well. Like it's of my own making in a sense,
Okay,
because
interesting.
I just know whatever I have to do, I have to go get her. I have to go catch her,
Wow, that's a
and so
powerful
that's,
metaphor.
yeah, I never thought about it until right now. That's pretty interesting.
So it wasn't a
Um,
destructive fire that's after you. It was just kind of a reflection of this burning
right.
intensity you feel in pursuit of this girl and maybe in
Yeah.
pursuit of love in general.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in the dream, you didn't end up finding her, right?
Right. No, she like escaped out into the night, basically.
Some dreams are giving you a warning or direction. Like in on one hand, it could be a warning. Like if you give your heart to this girl, this is what's going to happen. She's going to take off with it
Oh,
into the night and you're
for
never going
sure.
to see her again. And something is going to be
Yeah.
lost in the process. Or it could be, I just did an episode on diagnostic dreams where it's basically just diagnosing the condition of your heart, a relationship, a situation. So either it could be warning you this isn't going to end well if you pursue this girl, or it could be just diagnosing that you already had, in a sense, given your heart to her by your feelings for
Yeah.
her, and just diagnosing the intensity and the passion and the way you
Hmm.
already felt. You had already, in a sense, given your heart to her through your desires
Mm.
for her. Her being gone in the darkness is like not understanding. What do we do now? Where do I go from this now? Which one do you think resonates with you,
I'd say
or
probably
both?
both.
Yeah.
Yeah, just remembering what I was feeling during that time. And I knew I just had this longing that I already liked her and that she probably might not have the same reciprocating feelings. And so that kind of like wondering maybe not just like if it's her or if it's like a problem with me or if it's like kind of the wondering of why I haven't been able to find love in general up to that point.
Yeah.
Because when I was at that age, when you're like 18 or 19, like you want to get married at 21 because everything else is just like ridiculously old.
That's
And
true.
so maybe part of in my mind was like, time's running out and you gotta go catch what you need to feel like you have to fulfill that part of your life with
Right.
again. And that could be that passion itself can be so destructive that it could be stopping you from the thing that you really want the most. Kind of just let it be.
Yeah. The metaphors in this dream are pretty straightforward, like your
Yeah.
heart in a
Hmm.
chest, and your
Yeah.
heart is like in your chest.
Right. Yeah. I thought
And
about that
then,
too.
the burning flames of passion. That's a pretty
Sure. Sure.
standard
Yeah.
one.
That's a
And
common
then the
one.
night, just representing some form of darkness, maybe emotional
Mm,
darkness,
yeah.
or yeah,
Yeah. Or unclarity, like you said. I definitely
yeah.
see that for you.
That's a good one. That was
Yeah.
fun. Okay. Do you have another one?
I'm going to transition into another one just because it has something again to do with like a girl that I liked or something. And this is like in this dream, it's not a girl who I even know. It was just like a girl that I knew that I liked in the dream,
Okay.
which is kind of interesting. And this is a very like recent one, like within the last few months. So it was this like rich millionaire's backyard amusement park
Okay.
thing that he had. Like it's like a carnival. Like there's these like water slides, like log rides, and like House of Mirrors and like putt golf and all this like cool fun stuff. And so there's these sisters who come down this log ride water slide thing, and one of them is a girl I know that I like, and she lost like a ring or a pendant or something like that, something like special to her, and she asked me if I could like jump in and go find it for her. And so I jump in and find
You
it,
jump
and
into
then
what?
like this water slide thing.
So you jump
Anyways, it's
into
like water
water.
ride. Yeah, I jump into water. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I get out, but then this, like, I find it and I get out, but this one, like, security guard or something finds me, and he's like this big, ugly dude looking like he wants to kill me. And so I start running. I don't know where the girls end up. I remember running across like the golf course, and then there's like these glass doors that
Hmm.
kind of separate, like, it's like the entrance into like that part of the golfing is. And
Okay.
I remember hiding behind this like fake rock. I knew it was a fake rock. I knew it wasn't a real. It was just like a set piece or something for like the putt putt. And so for some reason, I have these exploding Easter eggs that I'm like, okay, I can use these and like distract this guy long enough to get away. Like I'm
Uh-huh.
just like whenever he gets through, I'm gonna throw it in his face and then like bolt and like head toward the House of Mirrors and
Uh-huh.
just like escape from him. But he sees me first. Like whenever I'm hiding, I didn't hide well enough. He like sees me through like the glass doors that I somehow like jammed or something, was able to get him to stop, or maybe I locked it or something, and he's like unlocking it with the key, and I'm like, it's like, oh, what do I do? What do I go now? It's like I gotta go. I gotta keep running. That's kind of where like the dream stops. I wish I would have known if I would have thrown the egg and didn't run into the House of Mirrors, or if I like would have run into the House of Mirrors and thrown the egg. Just kind of just a random weird dream like that. That's pretty much what it was.
Okay, that's a fun one. That sounds kind of like my dreams. Some people dream
Oh,
very,
okay.
you like your first dream was a good starter, but I have these
Hmm.
long chapters in a story or scenes in a movie dreams. Okay,
Yes,
so I'll tell
that's
it
a lot
back
of
to
mine.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are really
yeah.
fun. So there's a girl you liked, just a general girl, not someone you know in your real
Mhm.
life. Are you at a party at this rich millionaire's house, or are you not sure why you're there?
I assume that's what it is. I don't know if I snuck in. I don't know if I'm
Okay.
even supposed to be there in the first place.
Or were you only there because she was there? Or were you there for
Probably.
another reason and saw her
No,
there?
no, no. I was only there because she was there for sure. Yeah, that
Okay.
was a big part of it.
Okay.
Other than the fact that it just seemed like a fun place to be.
Was it daytime?
No, it was nighttime.
It was nighttime. Interesting. Okay, so it's nighttime. He has the backyard carnival with log rides and water slides and a golf course. And then the girl you like is with her sister, and
Hmm.
her sister loses a ring or a pendant or some kind of jewelry that's special to her, or the girl
No,
you
it's
like.
the girl I like, and
Girl
the
you like.
sister is younger. She's a younger sister, and I think they kind of asked me at the same time to go find it for her.
Okay, so they ask you for help. You jump into the water to try to find it, and then a
Hmm.
security guard comes, and
Yeah,
like an
I find
ugly
it.
bad guy. Oh, you did find
Yeah,
it.
I did find it in that. So I have it with me. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to grab it real quick because this guy's coming. I must not be in the right place or whatever. And this guy's like the stereotypical law figure, right?
Okay.
Like, just like someone who, if you get in trouble with, you won't have a good day.
Does he seem like a bad guy? Like he's singling you
Yes.
out?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It seems like he's one of those people, he's taking his job way too seriously.
Yeah.
And instead of like catching me, he's just going to kill me. Maybe it's like a mafia don's right hand man or something. And I'm like, he means business.
So, yeah, you feel afraid of him and you start running.
Yeah.
And then you have or you find the exploding Easter eggs.
I have them. I don't know how I found them.
Okay.
They were just like in my pocket. I don't know if I had them before.
And then you're hiding
Hmm.
behind the fake rock. You have a plan, but the guy sees you, so you have to turn around and start running again.
Yeah.
Sometimes in dreams, you can ask, was I observing or the main character? And it sounds like you're the main
Yeah.
character in this
Yeah,
dream.
definitely the main character.
So
Yeah.
this is a dream about you. You said it's recent because it was your age now, or were there any elements of the dream that reminded you of your life now? Or you said the
Um,
dream is recent. You had it
The
recently.
dream
Is that
is
what you
recent.
meant?
Funny enough that you say that. I actually felt like it was me more in like as a teenager than me as in my 30s now.
Okay. Sometimes dreams are past, present, or future tense. What do you think it's possible that the rich millionaire's backyard represents to you? Does that speak to anything
So,
in your life in your
okay, so
past?
actually it's kind of funny and actually kind of goes to dreams that I had when I was like really little. In between like the ages of like 3 and 5 is when I first started kind of having these kind of dreams, these kind of vivid dreams, I should say. I used to always want to have a water park in my backyard as a kid.
Okay.
I thought that would be like one of the coolest things.
So could the millionaire's backyard represent childhood fantasy or like
Yeah,
a dream of yours or
yeah,
childlikeness or adventure, or just something
for
that was
sure.
part of the core of who
Yeah,
you
maybe
are?
something that I always wanted for myself. Me and my family kind of always had financial problems growing up.
Okay.
And so I always had big dreams, not just like sleeping dreams, but like big idea dreams, being rich and having like all that stuff that you see on, TV and whatever when I was growing up as a kid. That could be a big part of it. I get the kind of feeling of like teenage shenanigans. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I felt like was a
The
big
tone
part,
of
a
the
big
dream.
theme. Yeah, a big tone of the dream. Yeah.
Okay. Something you longed for, you enjoyed, or had even like dreamed about in the metaphorical sense. And then the girl you
Yeah.
liked, just because of what you shared from your first dream, do you think that also could tie into your desires as a man or a young man?
Yeah,
So,
I'm
so just
sure.
things you had dreamed about having a girlfriend and a wife someday,
Hmm.
dreamed about
Yeah.
being wealthy and having adventure and all
Right.
this stuff. And then I'm wondering, did you feel like when this girl you liked and her younger sister asked you to help them, did it kind of feel like, yes, I will be
Yeah.
your hero. I will save the
Yes,
day. I
yeah.
will find it for you.
Totally. I'm like, I didn't even hesitate. I just like went in. All right, this is my shot. Like,
Jumped
go in the
right
water,
in.
you know? Yeah,
Okay.
jump right in.
It kind of feels like, in a sense, a calling dream, or maybe a dream where you're reflecting back on things you hoped for your future when you were younger, because you said it felt like it was in your teens.
Right.
So, dreaming of the girl, dreaming of bigger things,
Mhm.
financially and maybe even in
Yeah.
your life and adventure wise than you had grown up with, dreaming of being the hero that comes in to save the day. And
Hmm.
then I wonder if the security guard could represent obstacles. Like, we all have dreams, and then we have the practical side
Right.
of
The things that
life,
are
or
in the
even
way.
just circumstances that become the
Right.
obstacles. And so I
Hmm.
wonder if the security guard represents the obstacles or the law that wants to tell you, no, you can't.
Yeah.
God made us to dream and think big.
Yeah.
The enemy is
Hmm.
like, no, you can't, because of this and
Right.
because of this and because of this.
Right. Probably, every teenager feels this way throughout all of time. It kind of has the kind of feeling of like, because I was a kid in the 90s growing up, and so it was always kind of a thing of like, man, like it's the authority holding you down, like you need to, break free from that,
The
and
man.
just yeah, it's the man, whatever. Yeah, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it was in like the 70s. Yeah. Kind of like a little bit of teenage rebellion against
Yeah.
authority, but then it also like wanting to legitimately find your own way because you feel like you can't is probably what I was thinking. The way it feels like when I'm rehashing it is just like I'm trying to think of all these ways of tricking this guy and getting away, but then I'm like failing at it because I'm not really thinking things through. I'm just going off the fly, using whatever ridiculous thing I have at my disposal to try and stop him, like in one of those old 90s movies, like Blank Check or whatever, or like Home Alone, where he comes up with
Oh,
all the
yeah.
like the goofy stuff to like take the guys out.
Yeah, the monster trucks,
Yeah.
the paint cans.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
interestingly, Easter eggs is a little bit more than just a random symbol, I would say. Easter is the resurrection life of Jesus, and
Yeah.
eggs contain a promise of something that's
Okay.
coming, something that's been conceived and hasn't come forth yet, hasn't been hatched
Right.
yet. And then the glass doors, this is pretty cool, but that could be like an invisible barrier.
Okay. Yeah.
And you are carrying promise, like you are carrying the
Mm.
dreams God has put in your heart. Maybe
Okay.
they're like exploding inside of you, and
Yeah.
your plan might be good.
That sounds very accurate.
The
Yeah.
dreams and promises that God has given you are exploding inside of you. And that's how you're going
Hmm.
to defeat this enemy that's like, no, you can't. And your
Hmm.
plan is good. But the fake rock, right when you said that, I was like, Jesus is the rock.
That's what I was thinking too when I said it.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So, what is the fake rock? So, instead of
Ooh.
confronting that
Oh.
voice that's like, no, you can't, you end
Mm.
up running instead, taking refuge
Oh,
in
wow.
something other than Jesus.
Because
This
it's not working.
actually seems like a really powerful destiny dream. Going back to the time when you were a teenager, when it sounds like the plans and purposes and dreams and desires of God were really starting to get birthed in your heart. We all have moments where we're like, yes, this is my destiny. And then the other moments of insecurity or doubt or shrinking back, the security card, you have all the reasons why you can't or why that's not going to work.
Oh, oh, that's good.
The invisible barrier, the glass
Yeah.
doors.
Wow.
So, and it's reminding me of the scripture where Paul told Timothy to wage warfare with the words that you've been given, the prophetic words that you've been given. Paul told Timothy to wage warfare with them. Could the exploding Easter eggs be the right thing to wage warfare with? The plans
Yeah.
and purposes and words that God has already given you in your life. And then
Yeah.
running and hiding behind false things is not the right approach. So you kind of see like the struggle. This could
Mm.
literally be a
Yeah.
novel, a really good novel. Like a lot of good stories, it's like the destiny is calling you and you're pressing toward it, and then you're
Yeah.
overcoming, and then you have the moment you fall and it looks like it's not going to come through, and then you
Mm.
conquer in the end. What do you think about that?
That's really good. I never thought about it in that way because it's like to me, even though the stuff I was doing wasn't working, I thought like, oh, that's got to be the only way. And I never thought about. I can tell you more about like other ones this is kind of an easy one to like transition to, but there's one I used to have where there would be like strange men at like my front door in the nighttime, and there would be like a white light around my door frame to like the front house of my door, and the strange men, they couldn't get through. It kind of
Okay.
reminds me of like the like vampire stories where they have to be invited in
Okay.
because they don't have the power to come in themselves. And I would tell my mom this is like a dream I probably had when I was like 5 or 6. And my mom would tell me that you don't have to be scared of those men because God's protecting you. God's at the door. That's that light that you see. They can't break his light.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that started to embolden me whenever that would happen again, because it was a recurring dream. I would like yell back at them. They would run, they would flee.
So
And
you were learning your authority way
yeah,
back then.
very young age. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I was saved when I was 3.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad led me to salvation at a very young age. He would ask me, who did I like more, Jesus or the Power Rangers? Because that was my favorite show when I was a kid. And I would always say the Power Rangers. And he asked me again, and I'd say the same thing. And he asked me a third time. And when he asked me a third time, he said, before you answer, he said, do you know who made the Power Rangers? And I said, no, I don't know. And he said, well, Jesus made the Power Rangers because he made everything you love. Every good and perfect thing comes from him. And the Heavenly Father is your Father who loves you more than I could ever love you.
Wow.
As your earthly father. And so in my small 30-year-old mind, he connected me to the source of creation, the God of the universe, and a God who loves me more than my father, who, at that age, you don't know anyone who could love you more than your father or your mother. Maybe you think your mother could love you more than your father does or something like that. But he did such a good job at connecting it with me at that age. He didn't say anything about sin or forgiveness or anything like that because he knew I wouldn't understand that. But
Yeah.
it was one of those things where from a very early age, like my childhood just seemed golden because I knew God was always with me. And it's funny, I even used to have like golden hair, like platinum blonde hair and golden eyes. But I was always kind of like the favorite. They didn't play favorites, but I kind of knew how to be the, favored one at a young age. So when I would get those dreams again, I would start to, I guess rebuke those men. And then it got to a point where I would have dreams where I'm like, they're chasing me and I'm running away. And then I got to the point later, I want to say around like 12, I realized I was like, wait, I don't have to run. Like, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to face these guys.
Right.
And then I turn around and they leave, or they were like, weren't even there. The whole reason I'm saying this is because the amusement park thing is funny because I usually don't run anymore
Right.
in my dreams. I usually don't run away. I usually turn around and fight, or
Mhm.
I go straight into it. There's another one I could tell you.
Hold
I'm
on.
in.
So you're correlating that to the progression in your dreams. I've talked to people about this before because I've had a progression in my own warfare dreams where I was getting attacked and beaten and then winning sometimes, losing sometimes by
Okay.
demons and
Okay.
witches, and then
Wow.
winning
Okay.
most of the time. And
Nice.
then the pinnacle is winning all the time. And then recently loving them.
Mm.
Now, I defeat
Oh,
them
okay.
and I share the gospel with them, or I tell them how much God loves
Okay.
them. And so
Yeah.
he has shown me recently, just in the past, I would say year, that love is the pinnacle of warfare. But
Mm.
there has been a progression. So I was just
Good.
talking to someone who is getting
Wow.
attacked, getting tormented in their sleep. So I
Yeah.
wonder if this is possibly revealing that the plans and promises of God, the words of God over your life are so big, you
Mhm.
are going to hit resistance points. You might find yourself faltering and fleeing when you
Sure.
should be pressing forward.
Sure.
And that doesn't define your walk. Within a moment, you can,
Yeah.
reorient.
Yeah, it's like after Elijah called fire down from heaven and then he was running
Right.
from Jezebel the
Right.
next day.
So good.
It's like, what are you doing, guy? We all come to that point where it's like fear can take a hold of us and doubt and unbelief can get in the way, even to where it kind of blinds us from the true nature and calling of what God has for us.
Right.
The other one that I was going to say next was one where it's like, this is the more kind of typical way that I kind of handle resistance in dreams. It was one where I'm in some kind of Asian city. I think it's like Hong Kong. I'm not sure, but it's like a mission trip. And I have some kids with me that I used to be like high school, junior guys, Sunday school leader. And so I had
Okay.
some of those guys with me. We were like on top of this road, bridge, overpass thing. And there's like these buildings, like they were really close. And we were going to try to like hop on down and like over to take some pictures. And then there's a big smoke cloud, storm looking thing comes barreling across, just covering the whole city, this big dark cloud. And I tell the guys, I was like, guys, come on, let's get out of here, go back this way. And I pull them up to the bridge because some of them got down quicker before I did. And then I just jump off the bridge onto the roof and like start jumping from like rooftop to rooftop and running straight at this thing. I jump from one rooftop, and when I get to the other rooftop, I go straight into the smoke. And then I see that there's nothing there. And I was like, I knew it. I knew there was nothing there. There's nothing to be afraid of here. I guess I kind of assumed that it was like a demonic presence or like a dark presence over the city.
Yeah.
And that it really does have no power. It just looks scary. It's nothing more than false fear. I mean, every fear, I guess, is false fear, but it's just funny how it's progressed that much in like my walk in life, I think, with Christ, and how far I've come to where the things I used to be scared of, now I'm like, no, I know you. I can get rid of you quickly. I think that's always been really fun to have a dream like that, where it's like, whoa, that was pretty cool. After I wake up, there's like no fear. Fear doesn't even exist anymore. And
Yeah.
I love those.
Yeah. And those are calibrations you can come back to. So if you ever
Mhm.
do encounter the enemy, you could remember it's just smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
It comes in like this big scary thing, and it's literally nothing.
Yeah.
Do you have a leadership calling on your life?
Yes. So from a very young age, I knew that I was like a leader. Like, again, going back to the Power Rangers thing, my favorite was the Red Ranger because he was always the leader. And so I was like, that's me. I'm the leader. Like,
That's so
I'm that
cool.
guy.
At 3, you're
Yeah,
like, yes,
right.
that's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, that's who I am.
That's so cool.
So I had such a big heart for leading in youth groups and stuff like that, which I actually used to be a volunteer youth leader at a church, because when I was in the youth, I remember the feeling of, I don't know if anybody likes me. I don't know if anybody notices me. I don't know why I'm even trying to be here, or other than the fact that my parents told me I had to be here. Not that I didn't love God, but it was like, even from an early age, like I got saved at 3, but I didn't get baptized until I was 11.
Okay.
Because I wanted to take it seriously. And I would see all my other friends not taking it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to just wear the WWJD or frog, bracelets or whatever, all that stuff,
Right.
and not actually mean it. And so I was very serious about it when I was a kid, because I already knew I had the relationship with God. It was always more of a personal thing than a public thing. And so I needed to know that I was ready. I chose that when I was 11. And I remember kind of a similar feeling whenever I did get baptized, where it was like just this fog was like cleared from my mind, and I received so much clarity that I didn't realize I needed at that age. You don't think about stuff like that. Yeah, so I just remember feeling that way. And even though I was very serious about God and my relationship with Him, I didn't always know how to interact with other people. And especially since I'd gone through so much rejection at that time. I'm talking about like mostly in grade school and stuff like that. And like you said, yeah, I'm sure like other people have definitely been through that at that, that kind of tender age where Satan tries to hurt you the most.
Right.
I just remember people coming up to me, guys who would just volunteer for the youth, and being like, hey man, how are you doing? Like, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Everything going good at home? And like, you want to play a game or something like that? Like, always encouraging me. And I remember always wanting to give that back. And I've always been a very agreeable person, sometimes too much to where, you get into like people pleasing, of course.
Yeah.
And I don't, try not to be like a doormat, but I had to grow into more of a confidence in myself to where it's like, I am an encourager. And what people gave to me, I want to be able to give that back to other people, like that cycle. Still to this day, there's buddies I disciple, people who I'm always trying to like lift up and encourage, and always have like a positive word for them. And I know that they do for me. That's something that I've, in this period of my life, has really resonated with me, is just like having that kind of brotherhood. And, even with sisters in Christ, iron sharpens iron.
That's really good. Well, I for sure see the leadership calling in the last dream that you shared, whether it actually is youth or just people who are younger than you in the Lord.
Yeah,
But I
always resonate more with people who are younger than me.
freely you've received, freely give. You received from your youth leaders in a vulnerable
Mhm.
time in your life. It's the
Mhm.
natural response to want to give that
Yeah.
away to other people when it meant so much to you.
Yeah,
Do you have any
absolutely.
connection with Hong Kong or Asia or missions?
After this, funny enough, I actually went on a mission trip to Japan.
Okay.
not, I want to say like maybe 2 or 3 years later. And when I heard about the mission trip, I was like, oh, maybe that's it. Maybe I should go to Japan. And I was like, well, even if it nodded, I want to go to Japan anyways, because Japan's awesome,
Yeah.
and I want to see it. So that was a really fun trip.
Did
I
you
had,
have any leadership role on that trip?
funny enough, some of those same guys who were in that Sunday school group that I used to teach were on that mission trip.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I guess in a small way, because I mean, like they were adults at that time, but they were still like younger adults.
Yeah.
And I was 34. I didn't really fit in well. It was a little more, people just kind of already had their groups and they knew what they were going to do. Like after we would go out on mission, like then we had free time and I didn't really know anyone who I could like hang out with at free time. I was trying to find people. And it was such a God thing because we had a missionary who was living in Okinawa come out to Tokyo where we were. And he had been kind of having some issues with the pastor of his church where he was local at. And the missionary that we met in Tokyo was a friend of his. And he told him, hey, come see how we do things on the main island. And it was just a God thing that he was there at that time because he was 37 and, he's away from his wife and kids back in Okinawa. So I was like, man, let me just hit Dylan up. Like we can go hang out and like go check out the sushi places and the ramen and all that fun stuff. And so like every night we hang out and we became such good friends, like best friends in such a short amount of time. Even to
Yeah.
the point where we were like, he was making jokes of like, man, I think I'm just your guardian angel. And like one day, like whenever heading out for the plane, you're going to be talking about me and people are going to be like, huh, who's this Dylan guy?
Like he
But
wasn't
yeah,
even there.
yeah, like he wasn't. Yeah, like he was just my like manifestation or whatever. It was cool, man. We just had such a great time. He's such a good dude. His name is Dylan Darnell. He's a Christian rapper out of Oklahoma, and he recently went back to Japan on a tour. And man, he's such an awesome dude. He has such
Wow.
a big heart. Yeah,
Send
for
me his
God and for
link and
missions.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it sounds like a lot of these dreams kind of tie together as we talk it through. Like
Hmm.
you have your destiny, your calling, leadership,
Yeah.
prosperity, adventure, and a future woman.
Hmm.
God has put that
Yeah.
desire in
Yeah.
your heart. And then the security guard or the enemy, just telling
Right.
you why it's not going to
The
happen
opposition.
or trying to
Right.
intimidate you out of waging warfare with the words, the exploding Easter eggs. And
Hmm.
then I love the picture of the last dream you shared, just jumping from rooftop to rooftop,
Yeah.
because that's what a superhero would do.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like a high position. It's a spiritual high position versus
Yeah.
being down on the ground and that limited view. You have that high view. It could have to do with the leadership calling. Have you correlated that at all to some kind of prophetic calling or
Okay.
prophetic
This is,
view
yeah.
that God is equipping you with?
Yeah, so it's funny. So at the groups that I am a part of, like the Bible study groups, I get this a lot that people are like, man, you're so prophetic. People see it. It's funny that you talked about the sky because one of the very first dreams I had, I think it was like probably the first one, it's either had to do with water or had to do with air. And so there was this dream where I was like walking up steps, but they were like invisible steps. And I was
Mhm.
walking in the sky and I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like I'm like walking in the air.
Mm.
And I literally was like stairs in the air. This is cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I like jumped off or fell off or whatever, but it was one of those dreams where like it feels like your soul like catches back into your body, like
Yeah.
falls back into you after
Yeah.
that falling feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when I was like 3 or 5, I think.
So that
Um,
to me represents leveling up in your spiritual maturity, your gifting and your
yeah,
maturity. The stairs and the airs, just leveling up in
yeah.
that.
That's funny. This could sound crazy too, but I think it was 5 because I like rededicated my life at 5 to
Had you
God.
backslidden pretty
Yeah,
far.
right. Yeah. I remember it was this day. It was summertime and there was like a blackout. I think they were just trying to like conserve energy because it was like too hot in Houston. My dad was in the other room for a second. So it was just me alone and it was hot and it was kind of dark. And I was like, this must be what hell is like.
Oh,
I don't want this. Like I have to make sure I'm saved. So I call my dad into the room and I ask him if I'm really saved or not. And he tells me if you have to ask that question, it's probably a good sign that you are. But we'll pray anyways. When he first led me to Christ, he didn't tell me about sin or anything like that. So then he told me about sin and hell. And obviously I knew about hell already, but I didn't know that maybe it was connected to sin or that I needed forgiveness or whatever.
yeah.
And so maybe he just wanted to make sure that I knew that I was saved and I
Yeah.
knew that I was forgiven in that time. Could have been part of the level up.
Maybe maybe connecting your faith with more understanding. We're always all
Yeah,
growing in knowledge and understanding
absolutely.
in what
Yeah.
we already have. That's really cool. Your parents sound amazing.
Oh, they were great. Yeah, my dad, he was the number one spiritual influence in my life. And my mom, she's such an amazing Christian as well. Sadly, my dad passed away in 22,
Mm,
but that's one of those things that kind of shook me a lot because I didn't have that person to go to, that spiritual mentor anymore. And so I was looking for that a lot. Thankfully, I did find some, and I found a good church right after he passed where, it was a good community of people who came and supported me and lifted me up. And then coming to the Bible college that I'm at now has been like kind of a new level of that, where it's been even to such a like greater degree of like magnitude. I just praise God that I, made it through that time, because I remember it was just like such a foggy haze. I just felt so shattered, and I didn't know what to do with myself. All I could do is just turn to the word, like my dad had taught me when I was younger all those years. And it says in the Bible, if you train up a man and train up a child in the way he should go, he will not depart from it. And that's what my dad did. He would bring up these biblical scenarios or like semantics, and we would just butt heads all the time about it. But he would go, okay, if we don't agree, what do we do? We're going to go back and look at the scriptures again. So he always just kept the word in front of my eyes and encouraged me to go back to that. And so that was so helpful. That's something I'm actually struggling with right now, is to stay in that. I needed it so much at that time, whereas like it felt like all I had, it was not like a crutch, so to speak, but like it felt like that safety net that I needed,
yeah.
because
An
everything else was
anchor.
just, yeah, an anchor. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my mom, I know that was such a hard time for her too. And so I had to be strong for her. And I remember everyone telling me that I handled that so well. And I even spoke at my father's funeral, a story that he always wanted me to tell about when we were at Galveston in Texas. And he would have me and my sister on a raft, and he would have a rope that was tied around his waist, and he would be fishing, and we would be connected to him. And so there was this one time where, we're little, like 3 or 5, and we're freaking out. The waves were kind of, boisterous and whatever. And my dad came back to us and he said, hey, you're always connected to me, just like you're always connected to God through the Holy Spirit.
Oh,
And he used that rope as a metaphor of the Holy Spirit. And so I shared that at his funeral, which was extremely difficult to do,
yeah.
of course, but just through God's grace, I got through it.
That's really powerful.
Hmm.
That's a word. I hope listeners can
Yeah, for
picture
sure.
that and receive from that. I'm just seeing so powerfully in these dreams, like your calling and your journey. Like I was saying, it's like a story from being so young and being the golden child and just
Hmm.
bursting with action and adventure and the
Yeah.
hero vibe. And then in the middle years, I mean, we all go through that where we hit that
Mhm.
age of self-awareness
Right.
and
Right.
insecurity and doubt and rejection and all this stuff. That's our rite of passage where we
Mm.
overcome all of that to be who we once knew we were called to be. It's like
Yeah.
there's always that period in the middle. And I feel like so much of your dreams is reminding you of who God created you to be that you knew from such a young age. And there's
Mhm.
such a theme of invisible barriers like the glass doors and then
Yeah.
even the cloud of
Yeah.
smoke. I feel like the enemy has appeared in your life in several different ways where it's really just an
Mm.
illusion. It's an invisible barrier. And at times you've pressed through, at times you found yourself intimidated and
Mhm.
hiding, but you still have the promises. You still have the
Right.
destiny and the calling. So it's like this epic battle of who you're created to be, the dreams and the calling and the hope for your future that God planted at such an early age. And then the different
Yeah.
ways the enemy is going to try to intimidate you to shrink
Mhm.
back or to
Mhm.
run away from your destiny. Do you see that kind of? You
Yeah,
shared
definitely.
five
For sure.
dreams, but every time you press through, every time you take hold of the truth,
Mhm.
the enemy is trying to tell you otherwise. You're leveling up in the spirit and just progressively becoming more of the fullness of
Yeah.
Jesus in you and who God created you to be. You also have a leadership calling. You have the millionaire house.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
looks like, whether that's being an
Yeah.
actual millionaire, a
Yeah.
spiritual millionaire, rich in the spirit, rich in people, or it could be both.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure it's
there's
both.
definitely some high calling here. And it's like,
Yeah,
dot, dot, dot. The
that's funny.
stories continues,
Yeah,
right?
I totally forgot about this too. I've actually had a dream that I know is like my future house, and it's like a mansion on like a lake. It's like this big wooden mansion that's like made of cedar or like I could tell you the whole layout of the building,
When
the
did you
house.
have that dream?
Mid-20s,
So, did you
possibly.
know in the dream or when you woke up, this is actually my physical house I'm going to have someday?
Yeah, that was what I like felt in the spirit.
Wow, it sounds like my
Yeah.
husband's dream house.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. The log house on a lake. Yes.
Yeah, everything that I've ever dreamed or thought of, it's always been over the top. Like
Yeah.
I've always known that God has always wanted me to dream big. When I was little, he's always had big dreams for me. And the thing is, Satan wants me to feel like I'm nothing but potential or
Mm.
like even wasted potential. But I
Uh-huh.
know that that's a lie that I've overcome that, I'm not going to believe anymore. That potential is going to be fully realized because God put it there and his word does not return void. And it does what it accomplishes in my life.
You're becoming,
Yeah.
you're
Right.
leveling
And
up
it's
and you're becoming.
yeah, and it's what God has already like put in me from a young age that I'm just growing into.
Right.
It's coming out.
Right.
I'm trying to think which dream I should go to next. This is a good one. This is one I had recently, but again, it was like me as a kid, more elementary, because I had such a bad time at school and it's such a tough time. The dream was like I'm getting called into the principal's office because I did something. I don't even know what I did. And instead of getting called to his office, they take me to this lobby where it's like this big foyer. It's huge. It looks super fancy and it's got all this salmon colored junk everywhere and it's very frou-frou. So I grew up going to like a college prep school. So it's kind of has that vibe of like seeming more fancy than it is or whatever. And so when I get to this room, there's all these guys in the room. They look like Men in Black or like Secret Service. I'm like, man, who are all these dudes? And I get to the couch where the principal is, not in his office. He's at this couch and he's talking to someone who's sitting on another couch. And the guy he was talking to is Jesus. And so I get there and I'm like, whoa, it's Jesus. This is awesome. And I'm like, who are all these other guys? And Jesus is like, these are angels. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. And so the principal guy, he speaks up and he's like, are these all your angels? And one of the angels speaks up and he's like, no, we're with him, talking about me.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, well, this is cool. And I could even see like there's like so many of them outside too. Like they don't even fit in this one room. And of course, I feel like elated and happy in the presence of Jesus. I just have this peace. And
Hmm.
then I have like, the security of like not only Jesus being there, but like all these angels just like full business. Like don't even come near him. That kind of thing. That was such a cool thing for me because when I was a kid, again, I had problems in school and it always seemed like a struggle for me to like be accepted. I was either slow or dumb or bad or whatever. And I could feel God going back into my past and just healing it through that.
Yeah.
That's really such a cool thing that I like hold on to for
Yeah,
sure.
that makes me feel emotional. That's really special. I mean, you said it. It seems like going back to heal or like reframe that season where the
Absolutely.
principal represents the earthly authority or just such
Right.
a lower, who cares what a principal or your classmates or anything would have to say in the presence
Hmm.
of Jesus and this huge
Right.
secret service men in black
Yeah.
company of angels.
Yeah.
Like there's just such a contrast there. Like at that
Right.
time in your little boy self,
Hmm.
you were feeling one way, but really this is what was real. This was what was really happening, how highly favored, how surrounded and protected and highly honored you are.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Love it.
Let's see. So I've had like two visits to heaven in my
Okay.
dreams. And then I had like this extra dimensional amazing dream where I'm like actually traveling through.
Okay, here's what's
So
funny. When I met you, you said, oh, you told me about a Hulk Hogan dream. And you were like,
yeah.
I just have these crazy dreams. I didn't really get the impression that you've had like heaven visits. So, yes,
Yeah.
Hulk
Oh, okay.
Hogan
Yeah.
to heaven. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Go on.
Hey, he's there right now. Yeah. So there's this extra dimensional dream. This was the craziest dream I've ever had
Okay.
where I'm in my house and it's like New Year's or something. The clock is like running out or whatever. And we need like a part two. So many dreams are like coming in my head. But I've had kind of like end of the world dreams. But this was different because it was like I'm in my house, but then like everything around me starts changing and like the whole dimension and like my family's with me. And this is like a house that I grew up as a kid, the first house I ever lived in. And everything just starts changing. Like the whole universe around me starts this whole light show and everything. And like I can see it from inside and I can see it from outside. I can see underneath me, the floor is like invisible, but I'm standing firmly on it. And these lights start traveling through everything and like everything starts phasing and it's like what you would see in a movie. And it felt more real than what we know reality is.
Mm-hmm.
It was wild. I basically traveled through dimension and I saw all these different houses. And I saw my house on top of like Earth, kind of how like Earth is just a little bit bigger than my house. And so my house was like just sitting on top of it. And I saw all these different Earths facing through each other and like different dimensional warp or whatever. I ended up with my house and my family on like the perfect Earth where there's no sin, nothing's bad, everything's good. Go have fun.
So like a time
Ridiculous.
lapse dream, an
I don't even know.
interdimensional time lapse dream, because if
Yeah.
it sounds like you saw your house going back in time to the first house you ever lived in, and then
Yeah.
future in time
Yeah.
where
It was like I was me at every age. Like it was outside of time.
how did you
You
feel
know,
when you woke up from that?
I felt amazing. I so wanted to go back. It was like God restoring me back as a child and like giving me a fresh, perfect beginning where
Yeah.
it's like, I'm going to rewind it all back and start you out in a perfect place and just have you live life in perfection where nothing's wrong and where there's no sin. And you
Wow.
can see how much I love you in that, you know?
Wow. I've heard the concept that redemption is so complete and so
Hmm.
glorious that
Yeah.
as you are in eternity looking back, all you see
Yeah.
is everything in
Is
light
the good.
of redemption. You don't even
Yeah.
see regret, sin,
Yeah.
failure, sorrow, pain.
Yeah.
You just see how good and glorious and redemptive everything turned out to
Yeah.
be. And that's all you see.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Do you ever get physically kind of incapacitated if you see things so wondrous? Does it ever happen to you where you have a hard time coming back to reality?
I think it's more just like I came back and I'm happy, and then
Yeah.
I'm also like frustrated that I can't stay there. You know, it's like a mix of both the emotions. Yeah,
Wow. And then
yeah.
tell me about your heaven dreams. I did do
Okay,
an episode on heaven dreams, but I might do a
yeah.
part two.
Do you want me to save it for a part two? Because I have
No.
some other dreams we can go through. Okay, so one is where I go there and I see these like beautiful people, and it's like this awesome architecture out as far as you can see out over the horizon, and it's huge. It's just giant, and everything just looks magnificent and amazing. And these people have this like stuff in this like golden bottle. It's like this golden oil, and they're just like rubbing it constantly, just like always putting it on. And then like the more they put on, the more beautiful they get.
I
And
was
then
laughing because I'm thinking it reminds me of Colorado where it's so dry. We are all constantly like putting
oh,
on
that's funny.
lotion and chapstick,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah, I
nothing
can see
like
that.
heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
You're right. Yeah. And then the second one is I actually met Jesus, and it was like not Jesus that you know, see usually depicted, but like my version of Jesus, I guess, where he like had short spiky hair and like he was all super jacked and he had like full denim on and everything, you know,
Like the
and he would
modern
just
Jesus.
yeah, like the modern Jesus. Yeah, like the Chad Jesus or something, Mega Chad. Yeah, that was really cool. And funny enough, I actually was just in a Bible study last night where they challenged us. I say they, I guess we challenged ourselves to pray in the Spirit for 5 minutes. And while we're praying in the Spirit for 5 minutes before we get to specific prayers, to imagine Jesus in the middle of the circle. And so I imagine it, and that Jesus came back
Wow.
and appeared to me like just as much as I have vivid dreams, I will also get visions
Yeah.
that are very strong like that as well. I could see him with me, but it was like the feminine version of me, like the bride of Christ
I have to
in the
ask you
spirit.
about this. I've asked guys this before because I've had Jesus appear to me in dreams as a very strong,
Hmm.
desirable man. Like when you said that, I
Right.
was like, yes. In one dream, he was John Cena. He was like helping me, lifting me up, and I desired
Yeah.
him so much, and I didn't
Right.
know the actor's name. I looked it up later, and his
Yeah.
initials are JC, and I
Yeah.
was
It's fine.
like, come on. fun.
That's
And
funny.
so like Jesus has appeared to me in my dreams, and I do tend to relate to him this way in my waking life as the bride, where I'm like, he
Yeah.
is so desirable. He is so strong, so
Hmm.
perfect, so
Right.
handsome, everything like the ideal man. But
Altogether lovely.
right. My question
Yeah.
has been, I'm a female, so I can
Hmm.
relate to that. How do men relate to Jesus as the desirable bridegroom? I literally love that you just said that, because this has been a
Yeah.
question I've had for about a year,
Okay.
is like,
Wow.
how
Okay.
do men see Jesus? How does that feel natural and not
Right.
unnatural?
So I think that's why I saw myself not as the male version, as like a female in the spirit
Yeah.
with him, because then that makes it natural. I think another part of it too is I've been with him for so long, like and from such a young age. I've been a new creation for 33 years, and since I was 3, and I think that there's such a familiarity there and such a comfort, and I know that in whatever romantic sense or sex or gender sense, I know that I can trust him. It doesn't matter, if I'm in the lead as the man. I even believe that Jesus is the ultimate masculine, and how the sun gives light to the earth and the earth bears fruit. Jesus is the source of all life. Everything bears fruit because of it. He is the ultimate masculine. Everything in comparison is feminine.
It's very interesting that you brought that up, because I've had that question for quite a while. But I think you have a very healthy view of sexuality and
Hmm.
gender to be able to relate to Jesus in that way. And that's really powerful. And I hope
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
more men can
Yeah.
actually have that experience with Jesus, because his
Yeah.
desirability is just off the charts. To know him
Yeah.
is to love him. To know him and love
Yeah.
him is to want to know
Absolutely.
him more and
Yeah.
to love him more. And it's just like the more you encounter him, the more you desire
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. He was the perfect man. He had no sin. If he had no sin, he had no death, and he had no death. He was very healthy and very attractive, just like
Yeah.
Adam and Eve were in the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good. Thank you so much
Cool.
for sharing your dreams today and for the good talk.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do
Absolutely.
a part 2 or have some
I
of your
have way
dreams
more.
on
Yeah.
future episodes.
Okay.
That would
Yeah.
be amazing. Do you have any encouragement that you want to share with listeners before we close about their dream lives or dreams and visions or life in the spirit, or
Yeah.
anything you've learned or anything you want to encourage people in?
Yeah, for sure. I think just with what we've talked about today, I've learned a lot about like interpretation of dreams. You've opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I think some people can sometimes be scared to dream, like maybe they've had a bad history with nightmares or something like that. But you can always go to God and ask Him to give you sweet dreams. It says that He gives His beloved sleep, and whatever God does is the best. And so you can ask Him to give you spiritual dreams or dreams of heaven or dreams of Him, who He is, to grow in that relationship with love that we have with Him.
Yeah, that's really good. And
Hmm.
you told me at one point that you thought some of your dreams were giving you ideas for video games.
Yeah.
Is it just some of the imagery, or do you literally think you've had dreams that is like, oh, that's a video game I'm going to create
Yeah,
someday?
it's literally like, that's a video game. I'm making that. Like, God
Wow.
just gave that to me to be a game. There's so many of them. I have turned into ideas, like stories that I've been even working with a buddy of mine who, before I came up to Colorado, I was working with. We would come together and have these brainstorming sessions because he would have ideas and stories. We just came together and everything just pieces together so seamlessly.
Wow.
And it's at its like infancy right now, but we're definitely just trying to get a rough draft and like plan out everything that we're going to do and how we're going to do it and what's going to be a game or what's going to be a movie or a TV series or what we might release as a book first and then grow into something else later. It's literally like when I'm dreaming like that, it's literally just downloading it right
Wow.
into my brain.
Oh, that's so cool. I can't wait to hear more about that. The whole industry, movies, books, music.
Hmm.
I just learned video games. All the
Right.
independent creators are really emerging. And it's like
Right.
the mainstream channels and ways that people usually produce things, it's like
Yeah.
falling
It's a little.
away because there's so much accessibility for people to just create
Right.
their own content.
Yeah.
And there's so much talent in the world. Oh my goodness. I mean,
Oh,
people that
absolutely.
you've never heard of,
Yeah.
but I just know this from people I know. There
Yeah.
is so much talent, musicians that never got a record label or actors
Right.
that never made it to Hollywood, but they're just as talented as the ones who
Hmm.
did. And it seems with all
Hmm.
of this independent content, it's really now opening the way for many more talented talented people to have
Yeah.
access.
Yeah, it's a lot like what you were saying earlier about like the Easter eggs too, where there's just all this explosive potential in these small things that God gives to us that we either don't know, like, or we forget that we have. That's what I would encourage people to do. If you feel like you're led to something, whether it be music, games, movies, or anything else, whatever your dream is, just try and see what God will do with it.
Right.
Because if you have that desire, He put that desire in you and it has that explosive potential. Like, I can't wait to see all the things that I have in my head come to life one day. Because in my head, they're already a real thing.
Right.
You know, it's already like a video game I've already played, even though I don't know maybe all the details. I know what it's about. I know how it should look. I know how it should feel because it's a living thing inside of me.
Come on. That's a word.
Amen.
So
Yeah.
that voice,
Amen.
that security guard that is telling you you can't or trying to
hmm
intimidate you, you take out those explosive Easter eggs and you just start
Yeah.
hucking
Wailing
them
them with
at
it.
that
Yeah.
voice and
Yeah.
blowing
Because He
it up,
flees.
blow
You
up
rebuke
the
him and He
voice
flees.
of the enemy
Yeah.
telling you you
Amen.
cannot do it.
Praise
That's so
God.
good. Well, this has
Yeah.
been fun. I think we'll collaborate more in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I super enjoyed it. This was awesome.
The more I connect with other dreamers, the more I'm amazed at how universal symbolic language is, and at the same time, how everyone seems to have their own personal style of dreaming. The nightlife is endlessly fascinating, and it's an honor to explore in community with others. If you have dreams to contribute or that you need help interpreting, please reach out to me using the contact button on my website at www.thenightlife-podcast.com. Also, let me know if you have comments or recommendations for future episodes. This podcast is a collaboration and couldn't exist without you. I'm so thankful for everyone's willingness to share. In closing, I want to make sure every person hearing this has received the greatest gift ever known to man, the free gift of salvation through Jesus. Romans 10:9 says, "If you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved." With the light and love of Christmas all around us, it's the perfect time to consider, have you put your faith in Jesus and his sacrifice on the cross? Or are you relying on your own goodness as a basis for right standing with God? I'm happy to talk with anyone who has questions, so please reach out to me if that's you. Wherever you are, may you draw closer to Jesus, the light of the world, this Christmas. Thanks so much for listening.